Well, Georgia's getting ready to Monkey Stomp Oregon for 3.5 hours, coming up at 3:30 today. But how about these noon games, though? Halftime on a lot of these noon games. Texas A&M up 17 to nothing over something called Sam Houston. Michigan all over Colorado State. Couple of good games going on within the ACC, though. NC State and North Carolina. Some good games going there. NC State's up by a touchdown, 14-7. North Carolina and App State. App State was up big. Well, a couple of touchdowns on North Carolina early on. I think they were up 21-7. North Carolina has come back. They're up 28-21 over UNC at halftime. Now, interesting because North Carolina, of course, was favored over App State until North Carolina played last week, and their defense looked so bad against FAMU. So by the time this game kicked off today, App State was actually favored by a couple of points over North Carolina. But it looks like NC State scored again, too, so they're up 2 touchdowns now. But North Carolina played a lot better in the second quarter. But North Carolina's defense, man, it wasn't just a week one deal. I thought North Carolina's defense was going to be strength of the team this year, and their defense looked poor at times last week against FAMU, and same today against App State. Now, their quarterback is playing good, and he played good last week. So that's maybe a pleasant surprise that Drake May. I mean, I know he was highly rated and all that, but, until you see him play, you're not too sure. But I think he's looked good in both games so far. So we'll see what happens in the second halves of these games here. Boston College up on Rutgers. What else? Michigan all over Colorado State, like I mentioned. There. What is this they're showing now? That's the NC State, East Carolina highlights. But anyway, the real team plays at 3:30. Your defending national champion, Georgia Bulldogs, come on at 3:30 today. I know that's what you're all waiting on. This is just filler here, these other teams, until the real team plays at 3:30, which, of course, is Georgia Bulldogs versus Oregon. And like I said yesterday, Oregon's just outmatched in this game. Georgia should dominate from start to finish. Maybe you have a little bit of a slow start. You have seen that. Texas A&M actually a slow start today against Sam Houston. They're up 17 to nothing, but they've had 2 big plays, 2 big passing plays that resulted in touchdowns. Other than that, their offense really hasn't looked that good. Haynes King, the 2 touchdown passes, but also threw a pretty bad interception down around the goal line. But Texas A&M's defense is no joke, which we've kind of known that. I mean, really going back 2 or 3 years, Texas A&M's had one of the best defenses in the country for 2 or 3 years in a row now, and it looks really good again this year. I know it's Sam Houston, but again, if you watch the games, you can tell they don't just look good because they're playing Sam Houston. Trust me, Texas A&M's defense is legit, but I don't know about that offense though. It's looked kind of sluggish today. Like I said, outside of those 2 big pass plays. Anyway, back to Georgia. So some teams have started off slow, so maybe you see that in Georgia versus Oregon. Maybe both teams play a little bit conservative early on. Oregon is a good team. I think they're a legitimate top 15 team. It's just a tough situation for Oregon to be in. Game 1, you got to travel all the way across the country to play Georgia, a top 3 team coming off a national title. I just really feel like Georgia's going to be too much offensively for Oregon. A lot of people talking about Georgia's defense all offseason and how much they lost and all that, and that's true. The offense has the potential to be better than last year. They scored 38 points per game last year. They could score more than that over the course of the season. This year, Eric Gilbert, Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, Oscar Delp, 4 tight ends that would start anywhere. Running backs, not as deep at running back, and maybe not as overall talented at running back as Georgia has been in years past, but still a really, really good group of running backs. And that offensive line, I think, is the best in the country. It should be able to open up some serious holes against Oregon. Their inside linebackers are good, no question about it. Losing Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside, I think, hurts Oregon. And then offensively, losing their top 2 running backs, losing 4 of their top 6 receivers, and on top of that, you bring Bo Nix in. Bo Nix is a feast or famine type of player, and in 3 games against Georgia, it's been famine for Bo Nix. He just hasn't played well. Likes to run around a lot, and I don't know how well that's going to work against a defense as fast as Georgia's, but We all know what's going to happen. Georgia's going to win the game. Only real question, can they cover the 16, 17, depending on where you bet the game at or whatever. I think they can. I think Georgia gets somewhere into the 30s, and I think Oregon gets into the teens. So, Georgia wins by 17, 18, 20 points, I think, somewhere, something like that. I will be live streaming the game on Patreon. You guys know how I do that. I let the Patreon members vote every week on what time slot they want me to stream, and they picked 3:30 for this week. So I'll be streaming over on the Patreon page. There's a link in the description of this video. Click the link, go over there, check it out. But I'll post the link on Patreon about 3:15, and we'll stream the Georgia-Oregon game. Got Arkansas-Cincinnati on at the same time, too, so should be a good one. Good time slot there. And then, as far as the primetime games, I'll be streaming that on YouTube, right here on this channel. So as soon as the Georgia-Oregon game ends, I will end the Patreon stream, and I will start a YouTube stream. So for you guys, and girls, too, who might be watching the primetime games tonight, come hang out with us. We have a good time in the comment section doing these live streams. That'll be tonight. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Utah versus Florida, a bunch of games on primetime. Anyway, Oregon season get ready to come to an end here in a couple hours.